Daredevil is by far the best character to learn and master Marvel Rivals with. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode of Shotty's Yap Session. And funny enough, he's by design the best character to improve with. And I'm going to tell you guys what 3 design decisions made it so that he's so good for improvement and how you can use those 3 to make yourself a better player. So first, the fact that he's blind. When I first started playing him, the blindness honestly didn't really bother me at first because I kind of just, oh, well, I know the map, I do this, do that, whatever. It was no problem. But he proved to me how important situational awareness is, right? And map knowledge and all that. So the first thing that I had to master with him was mastering positioning. And I actually just created a video and I created my own rule, which is the red light, green light rule. The red light, green light rule is basically if wherever you're standing right now, if someone turned around and said red light, right? And you were playing red light, green light, and instead of stopping moving, you have to be able to get in cover very, very quickly. It's almost like musical chairs. If someone stops the music and you have to stop right now and get in the chair or get in cover, can you? It's pretty much always being at most 2 seconds away from cover. But most players can't do that. Most players aren't ever less than 2 seconds away from cover. Most people are 2 miles away from cover, a business year before they can get in cover. And if you do that on Daredevil, you have no abilities that you can hit to get your overshield. Your reposition ability goes on a super long cooldown, so if you waste that, you're dead. And you don't know who can see you because if they're far enough, if they're a Hela or something, they're doing free damage to you and you don't even know where it's coming from. So you're forced to master positioning and understand the map and what long corridors you're in front of or what angles that can see you and all that, all at the same time. And to me, actually, performing decent on Daredevil took no time, right? It was very quick for me to understand, very quick for me to improve. I'm absolutely not a master at him, right? I mean, this gameplay that you're probably watching is like my 4th game on Daredevil. So not great, but not terrible. Most players get 1 kill and 15 deaths, But I realized that a lot of it wasn't because anything special, right? A lot of it was because I already trained situational awareness. I already trained map awareness. I already trained where am I positioned in the map. For example, in some of the clips, you'll see me instantly be able to run away and re-engage off of another angle on different targets. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I know, okay, this area is to the left of me and I'm going to climb up this wall. Then I'm going to wait for this cooldown and I'm going to slam on this person. And then I'm going to reposition and dash this way. And all of that processing is going on while I'm running, while I'm moving forward. Because if you say, let's say we go down a long hallway. If you go down that hallway and you don't know it's a long hallway with no cover, you're dead, right? It's shooting fish in a barrel. You walk down that hallway, you don't know someone's there. Then you see them through the wall, what you think is through the wall. And the whole time they can see you and they're just raining free damage on you. You know what's funny? If you actually watch it, I don't know what rank you guys are in, obviously, but depending on your rank, you'll see hilarious Daredevil gameplay. I actually died one time and I watched the kill cam. I was like, is this what I look like to them? I look like an idiot. I'm just sitting here like climbing trees over here, grabbing coconuts. I'm just running up a wall to, I see somebody, ability. And it's hilarious because some maps I don't know. Now, the last thing that his blindness teaches you is taking space and engagement timing. A lot of tanks, a lot of DPS, they don't understand how to take space or when to take a fight. What's a good fight, right? And with Daredevil, if you take a wrong fight, there is nothing you can do, right? There's absolutely zero you can do. If you take a bad fight, there's no amount of ability usage or anything that can save you from it. Because, and I actually did this a ton, a bad fight with him and a good fight aren't too far off, if you understand what I mean. For example, sometimes I will actually use my escape ability to get into the fight because if I use it, I can burst them 1,000,000 times quicker and I can get my flames back so I can use my abilities and I can absolutely delete a person and then use the chase ability to get the speed boost and get out. Now, if I do that exact same thing and my tanks have no pressure, it goes from an instant assassinate kill to I'm dead instantly, right? Before I even get off my second ability, the whole team's looking at me and they're like, what is this idiot doing? What is he, blind? Now, the other part of that is patience. I actually made a whole video on patience. And the thing about patience is a lot of people don't realize how important patience is in a game like this. A lot of people just damage uptime, constantly shooting, constantly fighting, constantly this, constantly that. And actually damage uptime is one of the things we're going to talk about. But damage uptime is important. It is, right? Most people struggle with damage uptime. But the problem is there's a time to do damage and there's time not to, right? If you're a melee character, which he is, he can't have damage uptime, right? He has to be in the fight. It's like magic, telling a magic to have damage uptime the whole time, and then you see a magic start using their charge up throwable slash to do damage because someone told them, oh, damage uptime, right? You don't want to do that. You want to be waiting for opportunities. A lot of Daredevil gameplay should be you sitting behind a wall, staring at the entire enemy team. Genuinely, that's what a lot of his gameplay looks like. And it teaches you what a good fight looks like and what a bad fight looks like, right? Too many people take bad fights. People don't even know what a bad fight is because on a character like Hela or Star-Lord or something, someone with an escape ability, doesn't matter. You take a bad fight, you still live. You know, you take a bad fight, your whole team heals you. It doesn't matter. On Daredevil, most of the time, you shouldn't be playing in a way where if you make a mistake, everyone's gonna baby you, you know, everyone's gonna backpack you. No, you should be playing in positions where you're playing around yourself, your own health packs, your own everything, right? Daredevil is a solo character as far as most players should be concerned. You should have a map memorized, basically. You should know, okay, if I take this engagement right here, I know that if I use my grapple on this hallway over here, I can use that to get to this health pack over here right after I get this kill, and then I can do that. If that's not going on in your head, you're not going to be able to perform on Daredevil, right? And name any other character you have to do that on. Even Psylocke, Star-Lord, Spider-Man, they don't have to do that nearly as much, right? Spider-Man just says, oh, look, I'm taking damage, cowabunga, and then flies to Uganda, right? Like, bro, any other character has a free getaway. You, if you try to get away as Daredevil, you sit there and waddle away in front of the whole enemy team like, please don't shoot me. Please. And you don't ever actually make it out most of the time. Most of the time, you will just die. Now, before we talk about part 2, if you guys don't know, you have until the end of October to get tons of free stuff. Now, what is the free stuff? I have my own little community tier called Lock In, and I'm celebrating that 1 year ago I started my paid aim coaching. So I'm giving away an entire month free to join that. And in there, you get unlimited Q&A, you get weekly VOD reviews, you get my aim routine guide, you have my Marvel Rivals guide, and I actually just released a new guide, and it's any of the VOD reviews that I do, any of the weekly VOD reviews, it'll be an archive of all of them, which means anything I upload, you get to see and you can watch over for yourself. You can go check it out. It's just tons of free information and free resources that you get to try out. And if you guys want to stay, it's only $20 a month after that. Now, for part 2, his cooldowns. His cooldowns are set up in a way that you need to learn cooldown management. If you're not using his deflect, or if you're not using his getaway, or if you're not using his, I don't even know what they're called, his little chains, his main ability, right? The disc throw and the slam. If you're not using all 3 of those basically off cooldown, you're useless. You're not going to do any damage. You're going to sit there and look like an idiot swinging around 2 toy batons whacking people, right? And one of the most common things I see when coaching people is either too much ability usage or not enough. I'll have to sit there and tell a Cloak and Dagger, why are you throwing your bubble and your wall into the enemy team and your whole team is full health? Like, what are we doing, right? Or I'll have to ask them, why aren't you throwing your darkness wall? Why aren't you cycling it? Or I'll see a Luna Snow and I'm like, why are you using your clap ability when everyone's full health? Or I'll see a Helen, I'm saying, why aren't you chucking your right click into the whole enemy team, right? With Daredevil, if I start coaching a Daredevil, if I have to say, why aren't you using your movement ability? Why aren't you using your dash? Why aren't you using this? There probably won't be much to coach, right? Because the person will be watching the respawn screen the whole game. If I have to tell them, why aren't you using your cooldowns? They're probably not even making it out of spawn. But that's not true for most other characters. Most other characters can make it pretty far, right? I've seen diamond players who don't know how to use their cooldowns at all, right? Purely carried off of other mechanics or team play or things like that. And it doesn't actually force them to improve as a player. And then the third part is the fact that he's melee. The fact that he's melee is like the icing on top for improvement. First thing about him being melee is damage uptime. You don't get to abuse the wall hacks. You don't get to do anything with the fact that he can't see you, right? He has to see where you are and then still get in crotch sniffing range to do any damage to you, which is amazing, right? You might see in my video gameplay, you might see me using the ability to chuck like the disc into the enemy team. Yeah, I mean, it works, right? You can still do some range damage, but it's tickles, you know? To do real damage, you have to get in crotch sniffing range. You need to be able to count the lice in your enemy team's hair, right? You should be ridiculously close to people most of the time when you're fighting on Daredevil, which means you need to know when to push, right? Because you'll see one of the 2 extremes on both sides. You'll see a Daredevil that never knows when to push. They literally never push in, and they're pretty much a cosmetic pick. They're worse than a Spider-Man on their team, you know? And then there's the other Daredevil, the Cowabunga one, the one I've been doing, you know? If you watch the gameplay, I probably died 10 times already in this clip. It's the thing about that style is you feed, right? I was watching as some of my earlier games on Daredevil, I had 12 deaths. Bro, if I was playing the same lobby on Hela, I'd have maybe 2 deaths, right? Hela, Star-Lord, Psylocke, any other character, I'd have maybe 2 deaths. 12? 14? 18? How do I have 14 deaths on a character, bro? Like, that's bad. But it's a fundamental skill issue, I guess, you know? So you need to learn how to balance doing damage and not dying, which is really hard on him, which also ties into situational awareness. I can't tell you how many times that I've sat there and I've had to keep track of somebody. So like, for example, what I talked about with the blindness, where you have to keep track of the entire enemy team. I've kept track of someone, right? And then when I finally decide to fight them, or I decide to turn to them because I knew they were to the right of me or left of me or whatever, then I see they're in like a different zip code, right? The good thing is his pull ability, like his movement, you can actually hit people with him and pull them into you, right? So if people try to create a gap with you, you can close it. It requires a lot of aim, which we'll get into, but you can still have an option. But it's hard being able to be aware of what everyone's doing around you, still do damage to someone else, and then flick to somebody else trying to re-engage or keep your damage up or finish other kills is a lot of micromanaging. And most players can't even manage just their cooldown or just doing damage or just keeping their positioning consistent while doing damage. On Daredevil, you have to do all of it. You have to have good positioning. You have to have good damage. You have to manage your cooldowns. You have to be thinking about where the enemy team is. You have to think about what they're doing. You have to think about their cooldowns. You need to know all of it at once. You need to be able to know when to deflect, because let's say you dive a Luna Snow, you don't deflect right away. You shoot once, then you deflect, because then she'll sit there and say, okay, yeah, this guy's going to kill me. And then she'll chuck her snowball, and by the time she does it, you deflect, and then you go kill her, right? You need to know all of that. You need to know what the enemy team's going to throw at you, what you need to deflect, what you can deflect. You have to be thinking about all of it. And also, him being melee makes you take different fights, right? Your engagement timing changes since he's melee. You have to sit there and wait even longer for a lot of fights than maybe someone like Magic could, because she could dash in, basically one-shot you and leave. You can't do that as much, right? You can only do that with certain positionings or certain people, or if there's a cloak and dagger you're diving, if she doesn't have her bubble, then you can do it, right? If she has her bubble, there's nothing you can do. She throws bubble down, and then you're sitting there squeaky toying them, you know? Now, I mentioned aim on him, and you have 2 options for aim, or, well, you know, 2 options I want you to pick. The first one is you can go join my lock-in tier with the code in the description, or you should check out this video right here that I made on how to aim better in Marvel Rivals. I love you guys. Have a good one. God bless you. Also, this is Editing Shoddy. Please subscribe. I'm almost at 100k subs. I'm not really almost there. I'm like halfway there, but you guys get the idea. Anyways, thank you.